Welcome to Quantum Kinetics First Diffusion Season 2, Episode 7. I'm here with
Jason MacCoy.
Jason MacCoy. It is so good to have you back. What are we going to be talking about today?
Well, last time we were talking about the concept of transmutation. And you were saying that one of the byproducts of using the
Quantum kinetic well.
Yeah. I was getting a little ahead of myself on the terminology there. Was that it actually creates, through the fusion process, other elements. Is that right? Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah. So actually, transmutation is basically a code word for nuclear fusion. And what happens in transmutation is this thing called electron capture. And electron capture is when the nucleus, which has protons and neutrons, it will grab an outside electron and it will fall in and turn the proton into a neutron. It'll change it.
Now, I thought the electrons just spun around the orbited around the nucleus, but you're saying every once in a while they can fall in, or they can be forced to fall in, or how do they fall in?
Yeah, so because of the uncertainty principle and the quantum wave function of the universe in quantum mechanics, the electron is actually just kind of jumping around and kind of probabilistically all over the place. But sometimes during a Coulomb barrier deshielding event, where the shields, like basically the Death Star loses its shields, or the Starship Enterprise loses its shields momentarily,
right,
the electron will fall in and hit the Enterprise and cause damage, turning it into something else. Transmutation. Yeah.
So it changes like one element on the periodic table to another?
Yes, and that's exactly right.
And that's what fusion is, right? Fusion is fusing together two, I always think of it like little soccer ball kind of things. Like,
oh yeah, classically,
two soccer balls get stuck together. Now they're a new element, right?
Right.
And if they became three, they would be the next element, and four. It basically, you just work your way through the periodic table, adding one soccer ball at a time, right?
And did you know that a proton is basically the identifier of what element it is?
I have heard that. Yeah. Well, what is it? Hydrogen is 1, helium is 2, lithium is 3.
Right.
I'm getting a little rusty.
Beryllium is 4, and then I think carbon is 6.
Okay.
And it's funny because when you go up the periodic table, there is a point on the periodic table where everything becomes very, very stable. And I think that's around 26, which I think is iron, if I can remember my periodic table right. It'll lock in. Everything likes to lock in instability at 26. And I actually don't even know why.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you that. Why that number? You know?
So don't ask, because I don't actually know. I have a theory.
What's the theory? Okay.
The theory is that there's the geometric shape, like we talked about before, kind of like the harmonics of a keyboard.
Yeah.
Once you find the harmonics shape that is very stable, like carbon, for example, it's 6. And because of the shape of the 6, basically the diamond shape, it's very strong, like diamond rings or diamond or carbon, whatever. So it has to do with the shape. It has to do with the frequencies. And that is what we do here at Quantum Kinetics using the arc reactor fusion on demand, is we use a new form of electricity to create transmutation. And today, I'd really like to talk about Hanford. Is that okay if we talk about Hanford?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've heard about it. I went to school in Eastern Washington.
Oh, you did?
Actually, it's an interesting side story to where you're going with
this.
Yeah,
go for it.
When I was in college, I was able to take here we go.
Saddle up, partner.
Yeah, we're going off into the abyss of stories. But my degree allowed me flexibility to take any class I wanted to. And I took a physics class, and it was taught by a guy who ran a nuclear reactor. And we got to go visit a nuclear reactor and see the crazy water and all that, the
pool.
The pool. And we
saw
a bunch
did you go on campus at the Hanford site?
Yeah. I stood in the thing, you could see where the rods went down, and the pool, You
The
know?
cooling pool, yeah.
I mean, I swam in it for a little bit. No big deal.
No, you did. You'd have blisters all over your body.
There was a lot of like warnings around there, like don't mess around with the water. But
yeah.
they
Don't
talked
drink it.
about the thing they talked about. The guy was an advocate, obviously, of nuclear energy,
Sure.
fission energy, to dividing a big thing into two, right?
Right.
Breaking it apart. And he said it was awesome. It gave off a lot of electricity, and it gave a lot. It was very useful. And then he sort of was like, "Oh yeah, and by the way, we also create a lot of hazardous waste." And their right idea was to like store it in a container or bury it or dump it in the ocean. So that's why I know Hanford was very important for making energy. But what?
So Hanford, the history of Hanford, from what I know, which is pretty limited, but Hanford was actually was the place where nuclear fission actually began. I mean, they were using Hanford to basically make the weapon stockpile of plutonium for the Department of Defense and also the Department of Energy. I think they made about 74 tons of plutonium, which is quite a bit. They actually discovered a new element as they were doing that. I think it was I think it was a americium or something like that. They found that, but at Hanford, unfortunately, the square footage there is kind of tainted by radioactive waste and has been for many, many, many years. And actually, I was looking it up a few nights ago that Hanford is actually technically the most radioactive location in all of North America.
Wow. What does that mean, radioactive?
It means that there's basically elements out there like uranium, plutonium, strontium, cesium, basically elements and atoms that are really angry. And they're just so angry that they're just emitting and glowing, kind of like the arc reactor is glowing a blue right now. But the radioactive waste glows like a gamma ray, which is dangerous, or neutrons, which is fast neutrons, which is dangerous too, or even helium particles are shooting everywhere. So this radioactive waste is... we have to basically wait for hundreds of millions of years for it to go away. And unfortunately, there's been about 400 billion gallons of radioactive waste that's seeped into the soil there in Hanford in eastern Washington, which is kind of a scary thought because Washington's notorious for being green, clean, energy machine, you know.
And isn't there like the Snake River by there, or is that the right?
Oh, and Columbia River.
Columbia River
is going snaking. It's literally snaking right on through the campus there.
Why do they always do that? Why, like Fukushima, right, in Japan? Why do they always build the nuclear reactor right by the ocean
I'm getting depressed. I'm opening my Red Bull now because I'm getting depressed.
I mean, I think if you're in Japan and you're creating your nuclear reactor by the ocean and then you're letting the water go into the ocean, isn't that how we got Godzilla?
Well, yeah. And actually, the Fukushima, what happened there was a really big earthquake that caused a huge tsunami to crush into the building right next to the power plant next to the water there. And because the fail-safe systems failed, the electricity dropped out, they couldn't get the cooling rods, and they couldn't do all the subsystems for safety, it basically just overheated and then melted down, which is one of basically not as bad as Chernobyl, but pretty darn bad. And right now, over in Japan, they have these huge containers of just like tritium laced water that is radioactive. And do you know that there's only 4 ways to handle in the world? There's only 4 ways to treat or try to treat radioactive waste. Do you want to know what they are?
I imagine.
You want to guess?
I mean, yeah, sure.
Go for it.
Ignoring it.
That's actually surprisingly that is one of them.
Dumping it in the ocean.
Well, that's called diluting it. That's one.
That's
of them.
A real strategy for it.
Yeah, diluting.
Can't they just not make it in the first place? Why can't nuclear energy not make radioactive byproducts?
Well, because what nuclear fission is, Jason, is when you have a really big atom like uranium and you smack it with a neutron and then it breaks the uranium apart, releasing a lot of energy to cause heating of water, to cause steam, which then generates electricity. And so this is nuclear fission. And the innate process of that causes radioactive waste because it's transmutating down and causing, waste.
So they're doing transmutation too, but the things that they're making as a byproduct are dangerous.
But they're making energy too, yes.
Okay.
So yes, they're doing both. They're creating radioactive waste, but they're also making energy.
So the math of it is, we're making tons of energy, that's good, but we're making some toxic radioactive waste, that's bad. Mm-hmm. And then, so you were saying, what are the different ways they do it? Ignoring it? Yeah.
Right. So nuclear fission, there's, like you said, there's dilution, which is pouring water on it.
Okay.
Diluting it. And then there's two, you can put it through a filter, which will collect the radioactive waste.
Okay.
But then the filter, you got to put it somewhere.
And then you got all the aggregated radioactive waste
in the filter, right?
Yeah.
So it's not really dealt with. It's no longer in the water. It's the opposite of diluting, right?
Okay. It's aggregation, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the next one is, there's a new one actually. It's called vitrification. And actually over at Hanford, we got to give them a big prop that they finally got it going. They have the nuclear vitrification process going on, where they basically blanket molten silicon around the waste, and it basically cools and creates it like a little shell.
Almost like to petrify, or to like glue into some kind of like cement or something. Is that what it is? What is it made out of?
Yeah. So what they do is they take, they basically get molten silicon, and then they pour the radioactive waste sludge into the molten.
Okay.
And then it sounds dangerous.
It sounds like literally a hot mess.
Try having a girlfriend.
That's even more complicated than nuclear fusion sometimes.
It actually is. And so once the molten sludge basically cools, it is encased in a capsuled vitrified silicon glass. It's like a shield. It just and then what it does is it moderates the radiation. So then you can like pick it up and you're like, oh, I'm holding this thing.
But you're really holding like a glass ball, and then inside of that is this toxic
goop
stuff.
Right.
And what is it doing in there? Is it feeding off itself, or is it getting nastier and funkier? And
there are no really true long-term studies on what actually is going to happen to the vitrified.
Nobody's like cracked it open and seen like what is it doing? And nobody you don't check.
Well, I'm sure that they've cracked it open to see and all that. Like those are internalized information systems that they don't share with many people. But I will say that there are no long-term studies on vitrification. Okay. Granted, it's operational. It's an option for the Washington State, which is great. But then there's another option, which is basically just storage.
Okay.
And that's the main one. What we do is we basically just sweep the radiation into a container, put a lid on it, and then put it either in the ground or put it in, a pool, like you're saying.
It sounds so
primitive. And wait.
It sounds so like it sounds like what a teenager does when they have to clean their room. You just stuff that stuff under the bed and jam it in the closet and everything looks fine, but you still got a huge mess, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly what we've been doing for, 70 years. And there's actually about 177 tanks that are storing radioactive waste that are past their life expectancy by almost 25 years. So the problem at Hanford is actually getting worse exponentially every year.
Is there anything? I mean, I know you're gonna. I'm.
Wink.
I know I'm teeing it up.
Yeah. Here it comes.
Is there any way you can hit this softball right down the middle? And well, what I was gonna say is the technology of quantum kinetics is you're doing transmutation. Can you take that toxic waste and sort of energize it and then turn it into something inert, or how would that even work?
Yeah. So what we do here at Quantum Kinetics is a totally new type of electricity, which allows us to put the radioactive waste through our quantum kinetic fuser reactor, either liquid or even gaseous matter, and transmutate, which is basically atomically change the elements into something that's from really angry atoms that are like emitting a lot of light to more happy and more calm. And it's like if you had a baby in an airport, which by the way, I just came back from Atlanta and there were tons of babies at this airport.
You start to notice them when you're traveling. Yeah.
And do you ever? And the kids were screaming and crying and everyone's just like, rubbing their ear like, my goodness, that's what radioactive waste is. It's just really loud, annoying, a baby's crying all around. And
I'm feeling like we're going to have an Iron Man insert here. We are not thinking babies are bad and toxic or anything, but
they can be kind of annoying. That's why God made them so cute.
That's right. Yeah. Well, they help you nap too. Whenever you take a nap with a baby, it somehow manages to help you sleep better for some crazy reason. But well, it's interesting that so you with transmutation. Somebody was asking me about this the other day. Now I'm starting to get science questions, so I need to defer to you.
Let's go.
So when it comes to nuclear fusion and nuclear fission,
yes.
So fuse is to like fuse together, and fission is like division, to divide apart.
Very good. Yes.
Okay. So when you take a radioactive atom that's got negative energy or bad energy, or I should say more specifically,
it's really emitting a lot of light that's not good.
It's a frequency of energy that's can damage DNA. Isn't that the gist of it? Yeah.
Like gamma rays, neutrons. I mean, these things, they penetrate deep into your body.
Right.
And they what they do is they hit the little carbon atoms and they knock them off.
Okay.
They ionize them. And then they basically cause the transmutation of death, basically, of your cells.
They create the damage so if you, let's just say what's going on when you are proposing or attempting to treat radioactive waste.
Right.
You have this atom, it's a big atom, and it's emitting the damaging radiation.
Rays, yeah.
Okay. Then you apply energy to it.
A new electricity.
Okay. And that breaks it apart.
Yeah.
And now it's okay, and now it's not emitting damaging radiation. What happens after you break it apart? So
the new electricity, what it does is it changes it into something like tungsten, thorium, lead, or cesium to barium. And what it does, it just, this new electricity is basically like, it's just pure love. It says, hey, when you have a baby that's really mad and it's really hungry, if you give the baby some milk, it stops crying magically, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what this electricity does. Is it takes these really nasty particles that are angry, and then it puts a bunch of love around it, like cold neutrons. It's cold neutron love around these angry particles, and then they just divide, and then they go into stability and they calm down. It's like if you were to pour honey in your coffee. It's like there's something about putting honey in coffee in the morning. It just
for real. I've never even tried it. For real, coffee and honey.
I love it, man.
I'm going to try it. I saw somebody do that the other day. Well, let me ask you something. I imagine there's a lot of scientific people out there. Mm-hmm. When you say there's a new kind of electricity, okay, and when you say it's like love, these terms are a little bit more metaphorical, a little more abstract, but to the scientific people, because I am that guy too. Yep. I'm like, I have to rationalize everything scientifically. I try to anyways. I know the world is mysterious beyond what we can explain with science.
Yeah.
But I guess we try to fill in what we know. So to the people who are saying new type of electricity, let's just start with that. How is it new kind of electricity? Aren't electrons that flow through metals, or isn't electricity already a done deal, or how is it?
Yeah. So
what could be new about it?
The new electricity does 180 degrees different than what normal electricity does. Where normal electricity, it's like if you were to push a ball up a mountain. Like if you had a stone and you were like, okay, your job is to push the stone up the mountain.
Right.
It'd take you a long time to push the stone up, and you'd be sweating and like, oh man, this is really hard to do this. And you'd probably fall a couple times. But what on our electricity is what we cause is a well, the quantum kinetic well, where we cause the well to occur, and then the boulders just kind of start falling in. And what we found with our research, which we've mentioned before, is that when you do cold nuclear fusion, you get those love neutrons, which are cold neutrons vibrating back and forth, and it's really safe nuclear energy. Mm-hmm. And because the neutrons are fluxing back and forth in a very small space, it actually blows apart the heavy elements like fission. It's called spallation. So when you do cold nuclear fusion, Jason, you get fusion of light atoms going up the periodic table, but you also get fission of heavy elements towards iron to that island of stability, essentially, where things are stable and calm. So you get both. It's 2 for 1, baby.
That's good. I wonder if people are going to want to split hairs on, is that really a new type of electricity, or is it a new way of using electricity to energize, vibrate, oscillate?
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
It's the oldest electricity, actually.
Huh.
If you want to get technical, it's the oldest type of electricity.
The oldest. Wow.
It's basically a synthetic gravity. Because remember, like if you're in free space and there's really nothing around you except the ether or the quantum vacuum flux of just electrons, positrons popping up and down, and they're existing, and then they're emitting microwaves and micro background radiation. Every once in a while, you get this really great swirl, and then a proton will appear. You're like, oh my gosh, a proton, that's heavy. It's got positive energy. It's pulling in electrons. Oh, now I got a hydrogen atom. And the hydrogen atom's like, well, I don't like being alone. I'm going to glom onto something. Oh, look, there's an oxygen molecule. I'm going to glom onto it. And I just made water moisture in space. And this Brownian quantum vacuum flux just keeps going in these swirls, and then you start getting planets forming, and then you start having carbon forming, and then you have like heavier elements forming, and then you get a big ball of an asteroid.
Wait a minute, not the Big Bang. You think is this maybe we're jumping off a deal here, but does that sort of imply that the universe sort of formed all over the place all the time, and stuff just start popping into existence and then aggregating into stuff? And is that kind of where that goes?
The reason why it is okay now to disregard the Big Bang theory.
Okay.
It's okay to say, no, there is no Big Bang, and I'll tell you why. Because the James Webb Telescope.
Yeah.
We use the redshift of the thermal radiation signatures of galaxies that are way out there, way past 14 billion years, and they're forming objects way faster than we ever possibly thought that they were in theory with mathematics. So it's okay now, I mean, maybe not 20 years ago to say this, but there's no Big Bang, man, period. Because it's just the way it is. The microwave background radiation is still emitting microwave radiation because and by the way, the microwave background radiation, the reason it does emit microwave is because the hydrogen ion that is being formed randomly in the flux is just flipping. When a hydrogen ion flips, it just flips like this, and it flips like this. It flips like this, it flips like this. And when you get the flip, it's called the alpha. It's 1.42 gigahertz.
Is that thing where that thing in space goes like it spins, and then it flips, and then it spins, and it flips?
Oh, that's called the Cherenkov effect.
Is that kind of what's going on out there?
I would say yes. There is a relationship to the Cherenkov rotation and the microwave background radiation for sure. And even the inner core of a planet when it would flip. Because allegedly the Earth is supposed to flip every 4,000 years or something like that.
There's some different theories
allegedly.
On it. But who knows? I mean, science.
I haven't been there for it.
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, I missed the previous 4,000 years ago.
I missed that commercial.
I hope to be around for the next one. It sounds like it's going to be a great time.
Lots of volcanoes and tidal waves.
Whatnot. Yeah, love a good swim in a giant 800-mile tidal wave.
Get a big surfboard.
Yeah, coming in fast too. Well, that's interesting. Yeah.
So to go back to the radiation at Hanford. Okay. Yeah. So like we said before, you can dilute the radioactive waste.
Okay.
You can store the radioactive waste. You can vitrify the radioactive waste, and you can basically move it somewhere, put it in the ground somewhere, right?
Okay. That all sounds like the same bad idea, kind of, in a way. It's all, you're not getting rid of it. You're not doing anything with it, but just hiding it, shuffling it.
So I will say this. We have been in discussions with certain people in Washington State as of right now, and I'll say that there literally is, and they all agreed, there is no remediation, transmutation tools in the back pocket. That technology does not exist. And there are things that we can use this for that are not even for just radioactive waste remediation. We can actually use it for mining rare earth metals. We can actually manufacture
that's
with
what
fusion.
Yeah. That's what's so awesome about transmutation. If you think about what it is, I know you know, I mean, of course you know, but for the rest of us, you
Still
know,
learning.
it hits us in waves. The first wave of it is you're kind of working on some crazy idea. It sounds like cold nuclear fusion. That's already been done before. And then you go past that to, you've got verification. And
You know, it's so funny that you say that, because someone on LinkedIn, they said, you know, I made a comment and someone said basically your stuff is clickbait garbage. That's what they said. They said that, right? And then the next day, after they did a bunch of research on all the stuff we've done, he wrote back and said, bro, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to. I deleted the comment. I'm super sorry for calling your stuff clickbait. You're doing an amazing job. Like, I'm sorry. And I wrote back to him and said, you know, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
It's not your fault that you immediately had a knee-jerk reaction to poo-poo it. Yeah. It's not your fault. And it's okay, and I forgive you. Like, we are dealing with not just a pariah of a technology that got a bad brushstroke, but we're dealing with a social understanding of that. If you touch it, we're going to beat you up.
Yeah.
And finally, it's starting to break free. Like the dam is breaking in a good way.
I agree. You know, it's funny, the like positive, negative, you know, in music, there's harmony and discord. Mm-hmm. Like in some music theory, you want to make a bad sounding sound because your ear is dying for the relief from that to get back to the resolve and what they call it, the tonic or the root. And in some ways, culture seems to ebb and flow like that too. Like right now, I get the sense that a lot of people are worried about the economy. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are worried about, you know,
where are we getting our materials from?
Yeah, like rare earth minerals, mm-hmm. like getting them from abroad. Power, because a lot of the places that are by these data centers, their power bills are going through the roof because they need so much power. Mm-hmm. So people, I think, in a weird way, because there's all this drama and, you know, discord out there, people want a message of hope and want to know that maybe there is a technology that can address this. And that's kind of what I feel like some of what we talk about in these shows is just, you know, like what else can it do? It can do, transmutation is a marvel in itself. You can take one atom or one type of element and turn it into another. Mm-hmm. That's amazing unto itself. Yeah. And the uses of it, you in a thing here, we have this. This is it's sediment?
It's a vial of sediment that is dried from the quantum kinetic fuser, which is basically a nuclear fusion reactor for remediating nuclear waste. And we just put seawater in it, and after 1 day, that's the sediment you get.
All of this from just seawater?
Yeah, 1 day.
What is this, iron, or what is it?
That is a carbon iron oxide magnetite crystal that is basically a time crystal. And you can actually put a butane torch to it, and it will emit hydrogen ions, which technically means it's a hydride. It's a fuel cell material for running cars on hydrogen safely.
Wow. Well, that brings me to kind of another topic, which is good job on the signposting on that one. But regarding you, I see all these different videos on batteries, new batteries, sodium batteries.
Oh yes, that's right. You
hydrides, all this kind of stuff. So what is a hydride? Mm. What is the naming? What does it do? Why is it valuable?
So a hydride is classified as a molecular structure. Say, you know, water. Water is actually a hydride because it's got a hydrogen, or it's got an oxygen in the middle, but then it's got 2 hydrogen on the outside holding it by the hydrogen bonds.
So this word hydride means it's got hydrogen.
It's got extra hydrogen hanging on it.
Oh,
It's hanging on.
Hydrogen hanging on it.
Yeah,
almost like a sponge that soaks up hydrogen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's good because what do you do with? Well, then what do you do with? Is that a battery, or do we burn that thing, or what? Well,
you can push current across it, and then it will push ions out, like energy out towards the anode. You can do it that way.
Is that what a fuel cell is?
That's what a fuel. So there's hydrogen fuel cells, and then there's solid state batteries.
Okay.
And a solid state battery would be basically the hydride material is used as a fuel source for the ion exchange.
Okay.
To push ions into your load or whatever your car.
Okay.
And then a fuel cell is when the hydrogen is in the hydride material, but then you just heat it up with a little coil, like just a warming coil that just gets hot, like it's warm.
Mm-hmm.
And then the metal, if you want to pass it over to me real quick, the metal itself actually emits the hydrogen. So if we were to heat this vial up with a Bunsen burner or something like that, this thing would pressurize with gas, hydrogen gas.
Okay.
Like quite a bit. It would actually explode at a certain point.
Huh.
By the way, this material is actually classified as you can't sell this material. Quantum Kinetics cannot sell this on the internet.
Why not?
Because it's regulated by the NRC.
Because it's a hydride, or
because it's basic?
Kind
it's a special particle accelerator induced hydride material.
Wow.
It's actually a national security safety thing. But anyway, we shouldn't talk about that. But anyway, yeah, the thing is that nuclear fusion can do. Look, I can even almost pick up the magnet itself. But yeah, this material is really, really amazing, Jason, and we can turn the radioactive waste of Hanford into this black soot, which can be used for energy.
Wow.
So
awesome.
All the waste, and by the way, if I remember my numbers, there's 56 million gallons of radioactive waste and chemicals that we could turn into metal hydrides.
What a turnaround that would be, right?
And how perfect would that be where nuclear fission started at Hanford and nuclear fusion starts at Hanford as a mining operation to remediate all of that. And Jason, here's another tidbit of information. The Government Accountability Office has done a report on Hanford, and they have calculated that it's going to cost $300 billion with a B to $650 billion to clean up that site that's 586 square miles.
Wow.
And they don't know the timeline. They said it could be 150 years, it could be 250 years. They do not have a timeline.
Well, how long before those tanks by the river? It's like the whole thing's such a bad idea.
They're 20 years
Store
past.
water tanks by a river. Could you make it any more? It's like kind of jumping in the water with the sharks, and you cover yourself with barbecue sauce first. It's already bad. Why are we putting it by the river in a giant tank?
It is. Well,
when you see that though, do you think you could clean that up? Is that where this all goes? Is that kind of
And I think, and this is just a rough order magnitude projection, that if we had $50 billion, so basically literally only 5% or 6% of the budget that the GAO is accounting for Hanford.
What is GAO?
Government Accountability Office.
Okay.
It's just an independent accountability office that does reporting on different like DOE and stuff like that. Right.
Gotcha.
And what I'm saying is that we can literally, we're offering the solution to a problem that nobody knows how to fix right now. And the only thing that's stopping it is getting the build outs, which means where's the money? Build it and they will come.
What are you building? What, like a giant water purifier thing?
Yeah.
Or you funnel you push the water through it, you energize it with and then it turns dangerous stuff into inert stuff.
This stuff.
Oh, usable stuff, even better, right?
Yeah, even it's not just like turning it. And by the way, this stuff can actually be used as fertilizer for plants.
Wow.
So now we can use this material over in the vineyards over in Eastern Washington to grow really kick butt.
And it's
grapes.
It's not radioactive, right?
No,
that's the key, right? That's the key.
When it turns into this iron oxide material, it's totally inert. Because it's iron, carbon, oxygen.
Yeah.
It's just and even if there is a little bit of material that's stuck in here that is radioactive, it actually is also like a vitrification process too. It encompasses it.
So when you say stuff like heal the world in the flowery language, that has got to the science people going, well, you can't say it that's what you mean by sort of it could heal the world. It could take something that's radioactive and dangerous and turn it into something that is non-radioactive and useful. Is that kind of
And exactly. We're literally turning the clock back to a time of peace, harmony, just love, just pure awesomeness where we don't even have to worry about where our natural resources are coming from. because we just grow it. What
That's
a thought,
amazing.
huh?
And I mean, right now, we've talked about this a time or two. The talk of the international security is these rare earth minerals, because evidently we need them for making magnets and other things for high technology. Can you make that stuff locally? I mean, can you turn on the reactor and have that as a byproduct in some ways?
Yeah, and the cool thing about the technology we have here at Quantum Kinetics is that like you can actually use it for, your home. Like we're right now, like over in the corner there, we're growing a carbon-based fertilizer that if you just dump it on a plant, it'll like it grows faster. So
That's
like you could
amazing.
have your own, moisture farm that pulls, high voltage and makes
Yeah.
moisture, and then that moisture gets turned into fertilizer, and then it powers, gets your plants all happy.
I think the topic of transmutation, the reason why it sort of cascades from, think about, I love when I say this to you because I know you've already thought about it, but it's just figuratively. If you can take something that's non-useful and turn it into something useful, right? We have not had that ability in this with this kind of precision.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're talking about is a technology that would allow you to basically make whatever elements you need.
Mm-hmm.
Some are easier than others, I understand. And
we don't even know how to we turn on our Jason, like we're so new at this as a species. We just turn it on and it makes iron oxide, carbon iron oxide, magnetite. But you were talking earlier, like you asked me a question. Can you fine tune it?
Can you sharpshoot it down to like a specific, we want 48, not 49. Like, can you do that?
I'm sure, in 10 years from now, we'll be able to sharpshoot that stuff.
Okay.
Like, I want this, bam. I want this, bam. It's like when you were a kid and you were like making out for the first time with your girlfriend. You're not very good at it. It takes practice, So like that's what nuclear fusion. We're just beginning to learn how to control these amazing phenomena.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's one of the things I think is one of the most useful things about this technology, and actually it kind of applies secondarily to chemistry, because like we talk so much about fusion and fission and that stuff, but once you've made these other elements, the world of chemistry becomes wide open to you too, because now you have the raw elements to do secondary,
Yeah, and it's like if you wanted to make a very special lattice structure of like, say, we want to fuse together copper and something else. Yeah, you could do that, or maybe even 3D printing.
Yeah,
like a fusion welder, like literally not just an arc welder, but like an actual fusion welding machine.
Well, I think okay. Besides that, you're talking about the front end of it, but I'm thinking even. How crazy is it that you can actually have a menu of elements you can make?
Yes.
I mean, your 3D printer now is not just spooling that plastic stuff.
PLA
you can just be like, I need some of this metal and some of that material and different elements. I mean, that is really, I think, one of the most remarkable things about this, that can do that.
It's like basically we've become the masters of the universe.
Yeah.
But my warning to all of you, as being the one that it's kind of discovered it, and it did take basically my life away from me, is that my only warning to you is that you have to come at this with respect and honor, not just for yourself, but also the environment and all of your fellow community in the world, right? And this technology can give you whatever you desire. It is literally like dreamland, right? If you want this, you can go get that. It does take engineering to build it and make it possible, yes, but it's absolutely amazing. And I will say this, just for context, like for me as the one who discovered this, is that my grandfather, his name is Stanley Willis, and he was the guy that started waste management in Washington State.
Oh, so you got it in your bones to do this stuff, huh?
Yeah.
One way or another, you got to be.
Yeah. And so when he started waste management back in Kelso, Longview, and this is a tip to the hat to the family and whatnot.
Yeah.
But he was confronted by Washington State saying, "Hey, you have all these dump trucks, you have all this, equipment. Would you be so kind as to move some of the radioactive waste out of Hanford?" And you know what he said?
No thanks.
He said, "No, thank you." And
Why?
Because it's just too dangerous. It's
Yeah.
because he didn't want to radiate his trucks. He didn't want to radiate his employees because they were all family to him. They're all
Yeah.
important to him. His employees were top notch. And what I'm trying to tell you is that there is now an option for humanity here in Washington State, that we have an option to, for the first time ever, solve the problem of radioactive waste. And I'll also preface by saying that for all the hot fusion guys out there that are doing fusion for energy, you're bringing the cart before the horse. You have to find the way to undo the past, make the world better first from our mistakes from the past, and then the universe will give you the next tool. Which, you think radioactive waste is crazy and cool? There's even more. There's like 6. I have 6 more ideas.
With what? With transmutation?
With transmutation, there's like many more ideas out there.
Wow.
It is limitless of what you can do once you have the backing, you have the support, you have the governance behind you, you have the permitting behind you. You can literally, within a decade, completely change the world. It's that quick. And I just want to let everyone know that like my life is ruined because of this technology. But that doesn't mean that your guys' life is going to be ruined. Like, think of it as I'm here to help you, but you have to make the call. You have free will. You guys are looking at our YouTube channels, you're looking at our posts, and you're watching and going, I don't believe it. Well, if you don't believe it, then it's true. It's not true. Remember what Henry Ford said, that whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right.
Yeah. Well, they want to believe. And by the way, when you say, if you don't mind me asking, I know it's kind of personal and we're on a podcast, but you said it's ruined your life. But I know every invention is a double-edged sword, right? On one hand, it's ruined your life, but on one hand, you got to drink from the chalice of the most exceptional drink there is, which is discovering the universe. Like, let's just start with, what do you mean? If you don't mind me asking, I don't mean to get too personal.
No, go for it.
When you said it ruined your life, why? Because I think a lot of people are out there going, "What?" But you invented one of the most incredible things there is to invent. So, what is the balance with that?
Well, like Nikola Tesla, right? Like, he was, and lucky for me, actually, lucky for us, is that the collective consciousness of the planet Earth right now is kind of ready for this.
Yeah, right? Like, I think so.
Nikola Tesla was basically hinting at these ideas back in 1900, 1920, and he was hinting at it even before he died, like in 1934, 1932 or something. He was hinting at all this, but no one could even get close to comprehending him. And even in the 1960s, there were people that came out with new inventions that are like, no, that's impossible. But now we're at this point in history where we're basically at a precipice of like, hey, someone's going to make the discovery.
Yeah.
I mean, for goodness sakes, China is throwing hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars into hot fusion. And there was a report by the FIA just recently that's saying that China is probably going to win the fusion race. They didn't win the fusion race, guys. It's already here. Okay, it's done.
What is the
FIA is the Fusion Institute of basically they're a new formed entity that basically does research on the commercialization of nuclear fusion, hot fusion in the global sector.
Huh.
And they just do reports and they gather data from hot fusion companies and they go and ask questions and they file these reports together and then they send it out on LinkedIn and all around. And it's basically, look.
Well, China's serious about it, right? They're putting their money where their mouth is. They're trying to get this done.
They are putting their money where their mouth is. But the problem is they don't have they haven't figured it out yet.
What do they do, by the way? I always hear the stuff with China, and I have mad respect for China and Russia. You know, the mathematicians, the experts, credit where credit is due. I'm sure they've created remarkable technology. And they take it very seriously, as it seems to, take your, embrace your life with a total dedication. I'm trying to put a nice spin on it, but
well, just to go to that point that you made, that the global organism, which is these gigantic corporations, countries essentially, they have a lot of money. But what it's really important is to have innovation.
Yeah.
Like it says, you can get a camel through the eye of a needle, but you can't get a rich man in the kingdom of heaven. I think that's kind of hinting at the fact that, like, if you have innovation, you can build a nuclear fusion power plant with a box of scraps. Okay? That's what that's saying.
Shout out to
right here.
Part 1, I think, right? It was pre this model, but yeah. In the cave, you can do it. You can do it with. I
am water boy.
You can do it.
Yeah. I saw that.
It can be done. Yes, it can be done. It can be done with regular stuff, but to scale it up and have it apply to the world, that's where the funding is needed, right? And China seems to take that stuff seriously, and so does Russia, for that matter. They're not messing around. They put the money into it, but it's really more about. It's not just throwing money at it; it's throwing it into on the right horse, basically. Like, if you say that and can prove and can verify, right? What is this?
We have literally spent 10 years and 6+ figures of private equity dollars in the biggest institutions of study in America and gotten data from the best of the best of the best. This is like Top Gun research.
Yeah. To be able to say that you are first diffusion, right?
We are.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
That's why everyone's copying us on YouTube.
Well, the more importantly is trying to copy on in the reactors. By the way, where I was going to ask you about China was, what is China's reactor? Do they have a tokamak or what?
They're doing actually, it's interesting. You got to give them you got to give China a little bit of props because they're actually doing something very interesting. They're kind of blending everything together. Like, there's inertial confinement, there's reverse field confinement, there's tokamak reactors, there's Z-pinch. And what they're doing is actually they're kind of hodgepodging it all into one reactor to see if it's going to work. Now, I'll give them credit for that. That's actually pretty clever. I mean, that's what the arc reactor is basically, is a hodgepodge of all of them together. But our technology and our electronics is better. There is a non-conventional approach to this.
Okay.
Which has come down from, as you guys should check out the documentary, but it comes down from a higher level. Inspiration from above. And that's what Tesla talked about too, is like if he would have visions of devices that no one's ever seen before, and then he would just build it. So it's very impressive. And then one of the things when we were talking about the byproducts of the transmutation, you said these hydrides, they can be used as batteries, which means that the battery life of a car or a flying car or a super train or maglev train or spaceship, I mean, how much energy can it store? Is there an energy to storage ratio that starts to present itself with whatever the hydride is that you're creating? Is there a number that starts to, like, can you take a can like this and how many miles could I drive on a hydride full of hydrogen that was that size? You know what I mean? Is there size scales? We don't know the numbers yet because we haven't sent our sediment to have it tested at, like, say, at an NREL or a DOE or whatever. Matter of fact, I called a couple straight up just recently, just called them and said, hey, this is what we're doing and we have this stuff. And they just hung up. No, dude, they just hung up. They took the phone and they clicked it, just like we talked about in the other, we're talking about the university. They literally just hung up. Yeah. And again, like, okay, why would you do that? But the answer to your question is, I would imagine that, and another thing about this too is it's biodegradable. It's not like a lithium-ion battery that once it's done, you just throw it away and it's toxic now, right? No, this is like biodegradable material that actually has energy storage in it. So it's literally the answer to everything. It's fertilizer. It's energy for hydride fuel cells. It's energy for battery materials for... Okay. So let me challenge you with something, because I know I always try to think of the people out there watching, they go, that's snake oil salesmanship. You're just saying it's a one salve that fixes all ailments, right? Well, isn't that what nuclear fusion would do? It's the holy grail.
Well, I had,
Ooh, snap.
sort of had a problem, but what is the, so help us address that. Help us address understanding it's not snake oil salesmanship. It's actually can do a variety of things. Why can it do a variety of things? Why is that?
Because there's no technology that we know of right now as prior art technology that actually synthesizes new materials. Like
That's
actually
transmutation.
out of water.
Okay.
I mean, if you were to go to high school or a college and say, and raise your hand at the University of Washington or in Eastern Washington and raise your hand and say, hey, can you turn water into iron oxide at room temperature? The teacher would laugh at you.
Because they're thinking about it chemically.
Mhm.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, they're thinking about chemically, electrochemically.
Right.
But with fusion, it's a nuclear reaction.
It's atomic.
It's atomic.
Elemental, right?
Yes, it's nucleus.
Yeah.
Where like we talked about in the beginning, the proton turns into a neutron.
Yeah.
And then it becomes different.
And by the way, let me just like playing the devil's advocate. And you can prove that?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
And
yeah, we have published Nature magazine stuff that we showing isotope manipulation of, literally atomic manipulation.
So maybe when people say cold fusion can't be done, yes, it can. Quantum kinetics is doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Transmutation can't be done. It's only chemical reactions. Yes, it can. Quantum kinetics is doing it.
Correct.
What else and what else?
Yeah, you're queuing up for the next episode here, big guy.
What do you got? What else do you have in mind with this stuff? Huh?
So I think what we'll do is we'll begin to wrap up here, and we'll talk about what we're going to talk about on the next episode here, Jason. Sure. And I'd love to talk about propulsion. I'd love to talk about what the future looks like for energy generation as well. And I'd love to talk about, even cancer research with nuclear fusion.
Cancer research?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, cancer research.
Wow.
Yeah. So those are the things that I would like to go diving into a little bit further down the road.
Cool.
With you and maybe whoever else wants to come and talk about it. So that's what I want to talk about. What do you want to talk about?
That sounds super interesting. The flying cars are a passion of mine because I can't spend 5 minutes getting in the coffee shop. I'd like to get there in 3, really change my life for the better. But no, it's we're only limited by our capability to wield physics. And I feel like one of the gifts of humans is that we can be masters of the material world. Mm-hmm. The spiritual world, the intellectual world, that responsibility depends on our conduct,
and that's why that's true. It's so it's like if you had a knife. I got a new technology. I got a knife. I can cut my steak. Mm-hmm. I'm going to use it to slice my steak, and then I'm going to eat my food with my fork, which is also my tool. But that's the intent of the user.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't have to go much further, but you can use a knife for other things. Right. I don't have to say it. And it's all about the intent. And I think that's what my message to you and the world is that you can use this technology for whatever you need to use it for. But before you get the rights to use it, you need to understand that this is specifically for cutting steak and nothing else. Because if you start to venture into the other spaces with your intention, you're going to bring forward nightmare land. There's really, and this is what free will is, right? We get to pick. Yeah. You get nightmare land or you get dreamland. Dreamland, you don't have to worry about starvation. You live longer. Your water's clean. You're happy. Your fruits are growing. Your houses are stronger. You're flying around in Iron Man suits. You're blah 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 blah.
Right.
And it's all love. Or you get Darkland, which is we're fighting over it. People are trying to be kings. People are being mean to each other. It's all hate. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
You with this technology, only you get to choose. I want Dreamland, man.
I was going to ask you about that just in closing, because I know we're closing on the closing. You talked about the fact that in a way, there's been a destructive effect on your life with this technology.
Mm-hmm.
In another way, thinking on a positive note, thinking about the good things that could come with it. What happens when we don't make any more nuclear waste? What happens when we have unlimited energy? What happens when we can biologically improve our environment? What does that mean to you as the guy who weighs the pros and cons of this in your own life?
Well, it's like if you were a gymnast on bars and you were like, I just do bars, man, and I'm really good at bars. And then you get to a point where you're just like, you're the master of bars. No one can touch you. You're so good. And then you get bored. All right, I'm going to go to pommel horse. I'm going to get really good at, and you have to start all over and learn that one. And then you get really good at pommel horse. Or you go to another event. And what I'm saying is, like, when we get really good at cleaning up Earth and finding out that we are the masters of Earth and we are also the keepers, helping the animals, being good stewards of the land, all these things. When I get up in the morning and I have my cup of coffee and I look outside and it's green and there's rain coming down, and the first thing that comes to my mind is the Garden of Eden. I really do. It's just awesome. Like, and then you look at a picture of Mars, you're like, man, can we make Mars look like the Garden of Eden too? I think so. With this tech,
that would be incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, maybe not in my lifetime. Well, with enough funding, maybe so. But like, for example, when I look on the internet and I see a Starship rocket coming down out of the space and it's shooting out 1,000 tons of methane gas as it's flying down toward the ocean, it's polluting as it's coming down, and then it hovers over the ocean floor or ocean, and then it touches down and it falls over and explodes, and everyone cheers. Like, literally, I kind of want to vomit. Like, it just doesn't feel right. Like, you had this gigantic stainless steel thing spewing out nasty fumes, polluting the air we breathe, and then when it touches the ocean, explodes. And who knows what fish are underneath there that are now toxic or got hit with a shrapnel or whatever. Like, it's just, you have to understand that with technology of this magnitude, you can't be so, like, you have to be higher dimension. You have to be a higher frequency. You have to be not just, I'm not a machine.
It's funny that you use those words and those analogies in what you're talking about, because what you're talking about is frequencies and stuff like that. No wonder it's kind of like affected you in that way, right? We think, and musicians think that way, and artists think in color, and accountants think with numbers, and
musicians think in
frequencies.
And what you're doing with numbered notes, just to close this up too, because I want to give you some props.
Oh,
you're teaching me about music theory that is helping with the understanding of the arc reactor fusion on demand systems. Like, with the knowledge you give me, I'm like, whoa, I can actually do that with that. And I can get these outputs because it's a music theory driven thing. I didn't know that.
Well, I'm happy to do it. It's fascinating stuff, right? I know it's like you start to get deep dive. I'm about 5 deep dives ago. You know what I mean? The parachute's off. We've been falling a while. I knitted a sweater. I read a book. I'm still falling. The abyss is vast. But the things that overlap so much, like when you talk about frequencies, when you talk about resonance, when you talk about even the math of it, it all is the same stuff. And even Tesla said, what was the quote?
If you want to understand the universe, think in frequencies.
Yeah.
That is it. Like, I mean, if you think
frequencies, waves, and something else.
Yeah.
Well, we'll put it.
Yeah, I'll throw
Iron
it up
Man,
on
the quote. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, just to close up, next podcast we do, propulsion, huh?
I think so.
That'd be awesome.
I think so. There's some things about this technology that is so cool. I mean, like, you could literally have a transmutation apparatus doing transmutation and mining for you in the middle of it, and then on the peripheral, the tertiary, the outside, you could have something that's heating up water and then, like, making a boiler. So you have it's kind of like a star. Like, you in the middle, it's doing this, on the outside it's doing this, on the other side it's doing that.
Wow.
It's all circular.
That's exciting. That's really exciting.
And it's all about how you engineer it. Once you learn the secrets of cold nuclear fusion, Dreamland is not very far away.
Well,
And that's why they call Area 51 Dreamland.
oh, really? Huh? Didn't
Yeah,
know
because
that.
the technology basically allows you to make whatever you want.
Well,
So,
it'd be cool to show what the future of propulsion looks like in our next podcast.
yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, Jason, we're coming up on an hour. Thank you so very much for coming on the show. I always have a good time with you.
Me too.
So, okay, so thanks for joining us. And also, we are a part of the YouTube Partnership Program. So if you want to be joining up, go ahead and be a member, subscribe, and you get your little badges. And actually, we're very close to launching our merchandise as well. So stay tuned to that. And without further ado, thank you for coming and watching us on the show. And we'll see you next time, Jason.
All right. See you next time. Take care.
All right, bye.